Hello and welcome back to another episode of On the Couch with Nikki, a video segment where I bring you experts for expats. Today I'm coming to you from the impressive King Living showroom in Kalang Avenue. So, who's on the couch today? I am delighted to introduce to you Andrea Kennedy, a financial psychologist and author who's going to help us with our own financial empowerment, which we all need. Thank you so much for joining me on the couch today, Andrea.
Thank you for having me.
That's okay. We are currently sitting on the Delta 3, one of King Living's best-selling sofas. There you go.
Very comfortable.
Very comfortable,
yeah,
isn't
it is very comfortable.
Anyway, financial psychologist, that's a very interesting term, which is one of the reasons I wanted to get you on.
Right.
Can you tell everyone a little bit about what it is you do?
Sure. So I've gone through all the normal training that financial planners have gone through, but what I've done in addition to that is add this level of study into psychology. And it's because I realized very early in my career as a planner that people were unable to activate good advice or follow financial plans and do really what was best for their money. And it's because really how they were raised with money, how they brought up thinking about money, and those psychological blocks are so powerful that if you don't understand how to help people essentially jump through them or jump over them, that they, despite the best advice you can give or best intentions, that people will still not do what's best by their money.
Wow, so this can all be linked to our childhood in some way.
In some way.
As with
most
everything
people,
else,
right, exactly.
we're damaged.
I would say your childhood, your peer group, what environment you were brought up.
There is so much surrounding this topic. Today I want to strip it right back down to on a purely domestic front. Expat women knowing what's going on in their own home financially, which I think a lot of expats have no clue.
Right. So let me just, I would say the broad kind of the view at 30,000 feet is if you look at all families all over the world, expat or not, you will have people who are very strategic about their money, who have a financial plan in place, who have a lot of very good communication and transparency in terms of working, the husband and wife working together, the partners working together towards financial goals. The other extreme side of that is people who don't know or are unaware, maybe were brought up in households where this wasn't discussed, and they essentially have a lot going against them, and this, they don't talk about it, and so on. They're hoping for the best.
Does it matter?
And then there's a group in between who have who are doing some of the right things, but don't really have the whole picture.
Does it only matter if something happens, and then all of a sudden, let's say your spouse is killed or dies, and then you're forced to know what's going on?
Right, so there's a couple of things. I would say that in this day and age, and I think especially, so the challenges facing expats are you're removed from friends and family and a support system, and you're in a foreign country with different laws. You're often dependent in many ways, potentially on a spouse. And if something happens to him, whatever happens to him, right, death, dementia, he has a stroke, he loses his job, and all of a sudden you have to be responsible, you have to play a larger role, and you've got to learn everything at once. Learning all of this information or learning, climbing this ladder of financial literacy under duress is really difficult.
Yes.
You will very likely not make good decisions under duress, and this is partly why, partly the role I play with clients is helping them make decisions when they are not necessarily thinking straight, right? So I think that the challenge is if something happens, and yes, you can go through your life and not have any idea of what's going on, but what if someone passes away and all of a sudden you've got to invest and manage the money, or you've got to watch the people who are managing your money? How do you know you'll have enough money for retirement? Do you want to have an argument when you're 65 years old and lo and behold you don't have enough money for retirement?
Yes. It's a huge topic. So what
I think it creates anxiety for women to not know this, and it doesn't necessarily bring out our best angels not knowing this, right?
It creates anxiety for me thinking about knowing it, in fact.
And then that's the difference. And so I think that the first thing everyone has to know is that anyone can become fully financially literate.
What's the starting point?
So the starting point, I would say for everybody, there's a couple of simple starting points. The first thing is get out a piece of paper. If you can use an Excel spreadsheet, better, but you can use chalk. It doesn't matter what tool you're using. Crayons, if you want. But have bananas represent your money. But put down what your assets are. Understand what you own, what you actually own. What are the pensions and the savings accounts and the properties? What do you owe, right? What debt do you have? Credit card debt, personal loans. business loans. So if you can understand what everything is and what is titled. I've had clients come to me thinking they owned homes, only to find out that their husband's name was only on them.
Okay, so how do you broach that topic? Let's say there's stuff you don't know about.
That has more to do with your essentially upbringing and how you've been thought to think and talk and what to talk about and not. So that's really you have to understand that you may have different approaches towards money and that it's not something you should take personally, but this is a very rational question to ask. Do we own this home, and what is the titling of it, right? Like, am I in the title, or is it just under your name? Right?
Yeah.
So yes, you can just ask these questions. Oh, your pension. So people actually have to begin to have these conversations. You don't have to find out everything at once. Again, it really depends on the spouse. But I also think you have to consider, I think knowing your husband's background with, did his parents talk about these things?
I think most women should know at a base level how to approach their husbands to discuss sensitive topics.
Yeah. But they can say they also saw this program, and that we were talking about the importance of knowing this. And of course, it's not, forget about divorce, like what if he drops dead?
But failing that, even take death aside, women should be empowered to know what's going on in their own world.
And you just need to begin having the conversation, as uncomfortable it is. I almost think it's like you've got to face what you fear a bit.
Yeah.
To then get better at it.
Because it can open up a whole can of worms that perhaps some people don't want to open up.
That's right. And then I think the second tricky question, you asked about what people need to know. You actually, once you understand what you own and what you owe, you can find out your net worth. You subtract what you own from what you owe, and that number is your net worth. Then you can begin having pretty good conversations about money, because you can start to ask the question, how are we growing our net worth? Right? Yeah. How have we grown it?
And you might be having the question, how is it that we're bankrupt? Things can arise out of these discussions, and they're so important to know.
Right. But I think men may at first resist maybe sharing this, but I think psychologically this is a huge burden for one person in a family to carry. Earning the money, investing the money. A lot of people actually wouldn't mind talking about it, even if it's uncomfortable.
So they might be relieved to be asked and welcome the team effort, the team spirit.
Exactly. And I think a lot of times I end up counseling couples because it is difficult because of their backgrounds and how they were raised to talk about money, and I kind of come in and act as a referee. And then the data is the data. It's emotionless. This is the data. This is the information. And then people sometimes need help with that, right? Help, walking through that.
So for people who really want to get their teeth into this and have a full understanding of it, you have written a book. Please show us your book.
It's called Own Your Financial Freedom. You can get it from Amazon, but it was written specifically with women in mind, and specifically with people who were very unfamiliar with finances. So it really takes you completely up the financial literacy ladder from the very first rung to being able to invest on your own.
Wow. That is a crucial read. Thank you. So Amazon and
Kinokuniya here in Singapore.
So glad you can say that. I was like, I hope you're going to say the name of that bookstore, because all these years I still can't say it.
I speak Japanese, so that's why.
Excellent. That's what we all need to do to be able to say that store's name. Thank you so much.
It's great being on.
That the takeout from this is that we all should at least broach the topic of our financial situation on a domestic level. I would love to get you back in to discuss so much more about financial planning.
We'd love to.
We'll do that another time. But thank you so much for joining me on the couch today.
Thank you.
The takeout from this is to know your net worth. Know what you owe. Know your assets. Know what's going on in your own financial world, and get empowered. Thank you so much for watching another episode of On the Couch with Nikki, and thank you to King Living for having me. King Living has an incredible range of sofas and dining tables and bedding. Come and have a look in their showroom in Kalang Avenue. It's great. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye.